So animals have been a predominant part of our society and the world for many, many years. They've been the basis of movies like Old Yeller, Shiloh, Homeward Bound, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. When asked to describe the typical American family, you would say, mom and dad, 2 kids, a cat, and a dog. And even in our relationships, when we're finding out somebody, you ask them, are you a dog person or are you a cat person? Personally, I'm a dog person, sorry for all you cat fans. But because of this, it's safe to assume that nearly all of you out there either have a cat or a dog or are going to adopt one sometime in the future with your families. That's why today I'm going to tell you that when adopting an animal, it is best to adopt from an animal shelter rather than a pet store or a breeder. This is because the animal shelters provide a better service to you. They take better care of the animals at the shelters, and by adopting from a shelter, you're actually saving a life. Pet stores are big businesses, and their only main concern is making money from you. And basically, when you're buying an animal from them, you're getting the animal and their papers. Whereas most animal shelters are non-profit groups, and though they do have fees, their fees mainly go to taking care of the animals that they already have there that they house indefinitely until they are euthanized. According to the Los Angeles County Animal Care Foundation, their adoption fee is $50 if the pet's been there for only like 10 days or lower, and then it's $30 if they've been there over 10 days. This may seem like a lot, but that fee includes for the animal a microchip, rabies vaccine, and other animal wellness vaccines. And then there are places like Pet City and Moondoggies where you see the big signs in the window where puppies only $30, but then if you look more carefully, it's every month. And then depending on the breed, you can go for months and months and months and end up to be thousands and thousands of dollars. That's really the next point, that animal shelters they take better care of their animals. The fees that you pay, they go to taking care of the animals, and shelters like the Los Angeles County Animal Care Foundation includes spaying and neutering the animals and age-appropriate medications and other necessary vaccinations and cares. Pet stores don't really do that. They're just there for selling the animals. The owners are really only receiving papers. An example of this is my old dog growing up, Daisy. She was a really, really cute puppy. She's a half German, half Australian Shepherd. When we got her, we found out, had 2 different types of worms. She had tapeworm and roundworm. Most puppies, they get roundworm because they get it from their mothers while nursing, but the tapeworm she had was from neglect from the pet store because they let the fleas go unchecked. And by digesting the fleas, she got the tapeworm. Even now, I can look back, and even though I was like probably 6 or 7, I can see the cage that she was in, which is only like this big with 2 other puppies and more cages above and below her. And when we took her to the vet, they vaccinated her for both of the worms at the same time, and she couldn't handle that, and it nearly killed her. And before we even had a chance to make her part of our family. But luckily it didn't kill her, but ever since then, because of the neglect of the pet store, she had problems throughout her life, including bad stomach problems, and it actually led to an early death. And maybe if the pet store had actually taken care of her like they were supposed to, she probably would still be alive and around in my family today. Next, I want to talk about how by adopting from an animal shelter, you're actually saving a life and discouraging demand on breeders to make even more animals, which causes even more demand and competition for adopting. When people go out shopping for a pet, most of them want a purebred, and that encourages breeders to up their production and actually interbreed, which leads to problems like my dad's teacher's dog Deuce, who was only born with his little back legs. He doesn't have any front legs. But according to the Humane Society of the United States, about 25% animals at shelters are purebreds, so if you really want one, you can get one at a shelter, you just have to look around. But besides that, there are 6 to 8 million cats and dogs that enter a shelter each year, and about 3 to 4 million of them are euthanized. So half of those animals are just put to death because their owners went through life changes like divorce or moving, and they just couldn't take care of them, or they just didn't want to take care of them. And so by adopting from a shelter, you save that animal and you give them a second chance of having a good home. And so for adopting an animal, I want to encourage you that it's best to adopt from a shelter. It's a better service to you. The animals there, they're better taken care of than pet stores, and you're really saving a life. And so I want to leave you with this testimony that I got from the Humane Society of the United States Award from somebody who adopted a pet from a shelter. It says, "Rafi is happy, mellow, and loves everyone, but his story didn't begin that way. He had been rescued from a construction site, was dirty, and had upper respiratory infection. Yet he continued to bathe himself in his cage and shelter and to make himself feel better. He was still sick, but still chirped hello when I came to see him," said Anna Big. Now healthy, Rafi lives in his family for 10 years and is happy-go-lucky, friendly, plump, for a ball of love. Thank you.
So, Ivan, what did you think?
She had a good structure, lots of personal experience. Her ending was really, really good. It really persuaded me to want to adopt a pet from the shelter.
Everybody was willing that word into your mouth here.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay. Well, I like the general reference that you have at the beginning to people's families and how they're likely to include a pet, and it draws people in. Here's a reason for us to listen to that. I'd agree with Ivan also about the conclusion of the speech. You've got a good summary and a nice story. If you had just practiced that story a little bit more, I think it would have come off a little more naturally, because you had to read it a little bit, and it just takes a hair off of its emotional pull on us. If it was just a little bit more, came across a little bit more like you were telling us the story instead of reading us the story, I think it would have sold it a little bit more. But it's exactly the right kind of idea for the end of the speech. I like that. I thought you did a pretty good job citing information in the speech about the advantage of shelters, and then you intermixed a good personal example with the illustration about the dog that you had so many problems with. I think we could use a little bit more follow-up about some of the problems of dogs from pet stores. Maybe some statistical information or some data about how much it costs, for instance, to get your dog treated for all those problems over the years. That might have added a little bit of depth to it, but I thought you did a pretty good job building up an argument in favor of your position. The delivery is nice. I think there's good variety in your voice, and you've got very solid eye contact. You are doing a little bit of rocking back and forth on your heels, so when you watch the speech, you'll get to see a little bit of that, but that's just kind of where your anxiety is coming out. All right. Thank you.